All right, so if you know, I'm making these C++ videos as I go through C++ tutorials. So I'm learning C++. It's a programming language. More specifically, it is an object-oriented programming language. Oh, excuse me, I'm drinking this Coca-Cola energy drink, and it's making me burp because all the energy drink make you burp. Okay, so I want to stress on the idea of object-oriented programming. So in short, when people first just started discovering and making these new computer programming language at the start, like 50 years ago, their idea was to create this programming language that runs line by line. So they thought to have a computer and take the computer and make it read lines of code from top to bottom. So it's a bit clumsy idea and it's a very linear idea, I would say. So what's the downside of it? Well, you can't, with a linear way of thinking, when you're making one change in the system, say changing a variable, you could mess up the entire program and having to change all the other parts after it. So it's very clumsy. It's dumb. It's not, compact. It's just a bit messy and hard to read. So I think as object-oriented programming as like parts or paragraphs. They're like sections of of codes that could do compact things. Say, you could take, for example, you could take a program that prints out things. But with a very linear system, you have to specifically say, print out this, and then you print out the third thing. But I found a really good diagram here. But with the object oriented programming, you can store them into one package. It's like putting all these functions that are each separate by themselves and putting them in a package. And you may ask, what is this package useful for? Well, it's like a person who's chopping vegetables, who's chopping a watermelon, for example. Chopping watermelon is what you do. If he knows how to chop watermelon, the coding for him, so the process that's going on in his mind for him to chop other fruit like an apple is going to be similar. You take out the knife, you put it on the apple, and then you put pressure on the apple, and meanwhile you kind of grind on the apple to cut. So with this linear process, I just made up the word. I don't even know what it's called. So with this very primitive, very basic way of programming on the left side, you have to tell exactly um, the code should be ran. So if you're chopping an apple, you have to say take out the apple, put the knife over the apple, and then cut. And that's very complicated. But when we put it in a package, all we have to do is telling the computer what to cut. We just have to, I'm just making things up now. You can just say, when you're cutting a watermelon, apply more pressure. When you're cutting an apple, apply less pressure. But all we have to do is change a few things and the program will run smoothly. And what's good about that? We don't have to do all these and type a lot of things again. So the point I want to stress on is subject-oriented programming um, makes things easy. They are main part of C++, and I believe they are main part in many other programming language. Now, if we run through this, I believe this is polymorphism, I think. Um, I think this is example of object-oriented programming. If we see here, we used a pointer, yes, an object pointer, to point to a tag function. And what we have done with this pointer before is making the enemy1 object equal to the memory address of n and m. So these two have, enemy1 would have the properties of n, the ninja subject, and enemy2 will have the properties of the monster subject. So when we are using enemy1 to call a tag function, even though we just have the same name for them all, we can have different upcoming results. As you can see, all we did is calling a tag function twice, but with different object pointers. But what we got is different results. So this is a really smart way, and using similar strategies and ways, we can have other enemies like, a samurai, and you could make a samurai object pointer. And you know what? I'm gonna make one right now, just for the fun of it. So let's go over the program to see if I need to make any changes. No. I assume I can just make a new function right here. Let me copy and paste this, but I shouldn't. But it saves time. Okay, samurai. Samurai. And I'm gonna do slash, you got chopped in half. I don't know if this works. If it doesn't, just ignore it. And then I'm going to create a samurai object like I have done for ninja and the monster class. So all you have to do is name the class first and then state the name of your object. For this, I'm going to go with S. And then all I have to do is creating another object pointer on the spot called enemy3. And then I make this equal to the memory address of samurai object. And then using enemy3, I can just point to its attack function, which is only exclusive to the self. Enemy3, I got it. There we go. Enemy1, use it. Enemy. Okay, I'm a bit confused. You know what? Let's pause the video and see what's wrong. Alright, I forgot the semicolon. So just always put a semicolon where it needs to be. And everything else should be fine. Check the spelling, check the capital letters, check everything else. And then everything now looks the same. When we run the program, we have 3 different results, even though we have just called one function with the same name. But because they're coming from different classes and we called them using the object pointer, because of the object pointer, we have different results for the same function. So I guess this is a simple example of using object-oriented programming in the code. Just imagine that you're chopping. Now it's easier for us to visualize how this works with chopping an apple and chopping a watermelon. We could just call the same function chop, and all we have to do is changing, for example, the pressure that you are applying to the apple to chop it, or the pressure you're applying on the watermelon to chop it in half. So this is object-oriented programming. In Chinese, it's called 面向对象. It's what drives C++, and it needs some time to get this into your mind and to get into this mindset of using um, object-oriented programming. After all, programming language is all about what you think and how you think things come together to work. And let's run this one last time. Ninja attack, monster attack, slash, you got chopped in half.